Hello, everyone. It is still me, Reverend Wendy Silvers, and I am so happy that you have been on this journey and been involved in this conversation. The awakened heart of the mother, permission to embody your influence and create a powerful legacy. So, as I shared, I have some really special bonus speakers that you are going to have the opportunity to receive their wisdom, their inspiration. And one of them is with me today. And she is Shiloh Miner. And she is a well loved mom and wife of two wild boys. Don't you love that? She helps high achieving women create extraordinary marriage work. She is passionate about guiding good women to break generational cycles of being emotionally neglected, taken for granted, taking care of everyone and everything else. She is honored to help smart, determined women get the love, support, and affection that they deserve. And she has a very special offer for you today. So please sit back, take out your journal, and receive the wisdom from Shiloh. Hello.
Hello.
So good to be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, what I really appreciate about you is the stand that you take for happily married women. It's not always so often that you hear somebody saying, I help women have fulfilling marriages. So, can you speak to, in terms of this big umbrella of permission to embody your influence, how does that line up in the happily married women?
I love that question. So, what I learned and what I teach my clients is that you have massive influence in your marriage. So,
Mhm.
normally what you hear out there in the world is, well, if he wanted to, he would. And, that's just who he is. And this really closed, finite idea about men and about relationships. And so people think, women believe I have no power and influence here. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't hear me, doesn't care what I say, doesn't care what I think. This is a common belief. So if a woman is unsatisfied in her marriage, she thinks, sadly, I have two options. I can stay and be sad, or I can get divorced and endure that grief and heartbreak for myself and my family and hope that I find what I'm looking for out there, right? It's not, and my clients don't want either of those options. They're like,
Right.
I don't want a divorce, and I'm not here for this good enough marriage where we just kind of soldier on and run a family together. And so what I teach women and give permission for them to know is you are so powerful that you can completely reverse the dynamic in your relationship. If there's total disconnection, he doesn't talk to you, he doesn't listen to you, you just kind of putter along in life and you think, well, that's it. It's like, no, you are this magical being and you can inspire a deeply passionate and emotionally connected relationship.
I love that. How did you come onto this? What led you to doing this work?
So I, got married in my 30s and I thought I, finally found the right guy and this is going to be great. I'd read all the books and been to therapy. And then I had two kids. We had two kids and I hit the absolute wall of domestic misery.
Mm,
And I was going, I have everything I want here in the visible form, but nothing is nourishing me. I'm not getting the emotional part I need. And my husband and I had become very disconnected, a lot of bickering. I had tried to, tell him in 100 different ways, and it always led to some kind of fight. So I had finished that avenue. And I was also really struggling with my oldest child, who was very intense. And so I got a parent coach, and she taught me about conscious living and completely
mm.
changed the trajectory of my life. Where she said, you're not a victim. You could get out and walk out tomorrow. And it stunned me to recognize that I was having a victim party for myself. because I never saw myself as that kind of woman. I
Mhm.
have achieved things. I have done mostly what I want. I usually am not backward facing or wallowing, but because I was so committed to my family and I was so unhappy, I felt trapped, right? I'm stuck here. And so when she opened that door for me and I started realizing how I could create emotional safety for my children, which I didn't know how to do up till then, and that my marriage was also emotionally unsafe because all I kept telling my husband was that things were not working and he was just shutting more and more and more. I was like, okay, I am doing the exact wrong thing to get what I want in this marriage.
Right. The do's, here's the do's, here's the don'ts. I'm in the don'ts.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so powerful because it's that lived experience and it's so fascinating to me because just like, so I've been working with moms and kids and families for 23 years and counting. And it's so often overlooked that people get licenses for basic skills, but there isn't the opportunity to, now there is, but there hasn't been the opportunity. If you want to parent your children, if you want to parent yourself from a very kind, loving, and compassionate space, it's like, oh, okay, well, you're on your own. And nobody says, well, when the kids come, everything changes.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Everything changes. And I knew that intellectually, but you cannot be prepared for the way motherhood breaks you open. And I love your theme, the awakened heart of the mother, because it was motherhood that woke me up. And I didn't think I was sleeping, and woke me up to, the inner critic and all these, traumas and nervous system dysregulation, reactivity that I was creating in my family.
Yes.
And so to go, oh, I can heal this. I can be kind to myself. I have a relationship with myself now. And I laugh because it sounds kind of crazy, but you're never lonely when you have a relationship.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And in spiritual practice, we talk about everything ends and begins with us. It's our consciousness. It's where, what's the altitude of our attitude? Where are we sitting? Where are we residing? And so just like what you're speaking about, it is so true that when we minister to ourselves, when we really cultivate a practice and a way of being with ourselves, that engenders love and compassion. So,
Mhm.
what did you do? How did you begin to repair, perhaps in my world, the rupture that had happened with you
Mhm.
and your husband?
Well, the first thing I did was I worked through my own feelings.
Mm,
I spent a lot of time with myself and I made a commitment not to blame him for how I felt.
yeah.
That is an ongoing commitment. It's so easy to just, he's the only other adult in the room and I'm not feeling right. So it must be that he's not doing something right. And we do this instinctually, I believe, and it's an actual effort continually to go, oh, my feelings are my own feelings. So I started that. But then the next thing I did was focus on giving myself what I needed because I had dove in deep into the attachment parenting world and sucked myself completely dry. I was
Oh, say more about that.
co-sleeping, nursing for a very long time, which I still advocate for those things. But I didn't understand that if you choose that path, the level of nurture you need is tenfold. Like there was nothing coming into me. And I was blaming my husband for that, right? Well, he should
Yeah.
do something. He should fix it. Tell me,
Right.
do, right? And I wanted the
Yeah.
emotional nurture from him. But because I was so irritable and depressed, he was just like, whoa, back off, back away. Like he was retreating from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that coming out of that superwoman, be everything for your children philosophy, again, is ongoing for me. And continually coming back to that, it's cliche, but putting the oxygen mask on, it's for me, what I realize is self-care is something that you can only tolerate in increments because you do not feel comfortable doing things for yourself at first that you
Mhm.
haven't done
Yeah,
before.
exactly.
So you take tiny breaks, maybe you go out with your girlfriends, maybe you exercise while the kids don't want you to leave once, even though you feel terrible, you know?
Yeah.
And so as I did that, I became I turned my own light back on, right? I became a enjoyable person to myself and to be around. And that alone started shifts. Like before I even really did anything for and to him. And that's what I always say to my clients. Like, we want a healthy separation from our husbands. And often we're over there in his court trying to make him feel some way or not feel some way, you know, be troubled about his reactions or his behaviors. And that's a distraction for the work we're supposed to actually be doing with ourselves.
You said so much in that what you just mentioned. I mean, you said so much wisdom, because it is so easy to get caught up in the blame game. And the longer you are together, the more you know each other, the more you know the little, like, oh my God, they're doing that again.
Right.
And then there's that sense of, oh, I wish I would have that in love feeling again with them. And so I really appreciate what you're saying. It's like, I like, the only mask that I'll wear is the oxygen mask. Like, I really, like, that's the mask you put on to, like, rejuvenate yourself. And it's called self-care and self-nurture. And you're one of the first people I've ever heard say self-care in increments. Because people talk about, I know in my work, what's been really important is to break things down so that they're granular, right? This whole idea, love yourself. And it's like, okay, okay, great. I'm going to love myself. But what exactly does that entail and involve? And, so I love that. It's like bite-sized pieces.
Right.
So I really want to dive in, because I know one of the things that you talk about is passionate sexual chemistry. Mm-hmm. Say more about that, please.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things that you'll find out in the conventional marriage advice world, I call it'll make you very good roommates. So it teaches you how to negotiate and how to manage a home together. And it's not bad. It's better than killing each other and fighting.
Right.
But it does not lead to chemistry. And you'll see even conscious couples or people who've done a lot of work together being very flat sexually and wondering why. They love each other. They might have a lot of emotional connection, but the sexuality is kind of bland, or there's just not a lot of impulse to it.
Yeah.
And so there's two main parts to that. The first one is you have to be turned on by yourself and by life. You can't wait for your husband to turn into Don Juan overnight. That's not going to happen. But women, again, in our magical influence, we can enjoy our lives, dance, sing, even self-pleasuring, self-massage, do things to turn back on what has gone dead, perhaps from burnout or the motherhood journey of, doing too much for others, nothing for yourself. So the first is do the things that turn you on. If you're excited to paint or take a belly dance class or whatever, like, do that stuff. The way that sexual chemistry is created is a combination of your inner worth and your ability to express yourself vulnerably. So if you feel like $1,000,000, you're already pretty hot. Like, that alone is making you very spicy and attractive. Just because you walk around with that aura of, like, what? I'm excited about my life. I got things happening that feel good. Like, I like myself. I'm on this journey. Like, what's really excited me about this conscious living is the journey never ends. You could be stuck at home with toddlers or kids for however long, but you are going through, you're exploring, you're surprising yourself. Like, you can have a lot of fun learning about yourself. So that's part of it. And then the other part is polarity. And some people are deep dive into it. The concept is that you need a two poles, masculine and feminine, in a relationship for there to be sexual tension, right? If you're both at the same pole, it's friends. It's friend zone. If you're reversed, it's irritation. So if you are a woman and you're taking charge of everything and running everything, managing the whole house, paying all the bills, you are enraged 100% of the time. I can guarantee that. You might not know it, but you're enraged. And if you're a man,
interesting. Yeah, that's so fascinating. So you work with a lot of high achieving women, and so do I. A lot of women who want to get it all right and live at a high level. And so how do you communicate that? I remember many, many years ago, there's a therapist, and her name is Pat Allen. And she wrote all the, you know who she is. She wrote the book Getting to I Do and Staying Married. And she has a whole perspective. But she used to say, women, leave your balls before you open the door. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that, in this day of, very, empowered women, if that applies, but is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Or
I haven't actually read her books, but it is that concept that if you're in a masculine frame around your man, you're not going to be attracted to each other. So some people think, well, I shouldn't have to do all this stuff to him, but you're also not going to be attracted to him. You might want him to reach out to you, but you won't find him as attractive as if he was in the masculine frame at home. So when it comes to high achieving women and, basically women who have a very effective masculine side, getting stuff done, checking off the boxes, making money, like that's great. I always struggle with the masculine and feminine language because it can seem shaming, and it's not meant to be that way. They're equal valued energies that we all hold. But women who have a very well-developed masculine side, we work at developing and feeling into what a feminine essence is and how to relax and how to step back and how to, you got to provide a lot of space for a man to step into that energy. There needs to be time and space. And women will be like, well, he doesn't do the things, so I have to do them. And he didn't start, so I have to do it, right? It's like you got to give more time and space for him to tap into his masculine side. And when he's in his masculine energy, he feels good about himself. He feels very attracted to you. So this stuff can happen overnight. That's what's kind of cool about it. When you get the kind of energetic change, which can seem kind of woo-woo, but when you understand for example, when I want to have a conversation with my husband, I sit down. So there's never any of this, right? It's like I relax my body, I sit down. I'm not in some active over him. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what's wrong. I'm going to tell.
That always works.
Yeah, right? I told him everything and he didn't listen. You have to relax your posture, relax your body energetically. And what I always say is that the reason this stuff is not talked about is because it's politically incorrect, but it's instinctually accurate. Our instincts are the way is because our instincts are revealed in the things we consume in our private time. And the romance novels all reflect this paradigm that women consume voraciously. Right. And the stuff that appeals to men reflects women, in this feminine essence. So we might talk about something different, but our bodies keep dragging us this way. So it's really, in my work, it's honoring what the body wants. Like your body wants him to step up. You want him to initiate the dates. You want him to say, let's do this thing. You want him to show desire for you, right? You don't be the one who always has to initiate everything. And so when you provide that room and that respect and understanding that he's different than you, he feels it. And the sparks start to fly a little bit. And once you get a little bit of that feedback, it's really easy because you're like, oh, this is totally worth it. This is great.
So I'm curious. So you're the mom of 2 wild boys. Yeah. So as moms, we see that our children have certain characteristics.
Yeah.
They might favor one more than the other.
Right.
And so also, what about same-sex couples?
Right.
The polarity must still be there.
Correct? It is. So first, I only work with women who are with men, so that's not my wheelhouse. But conceptually speaking, it's still there. Okay. So in a same-sex couple, there'll be a more masculine partner and a more feminine partner. And the way that we call it essence, like this is the way that you feel best in. So if you have a feminine essence, you can have the strong masculine capacities. But when you come back to your feminine, relax mode, right? Yeah. And if you're in a masculine essence person, you are energized by doing those masculine activities. Like it's almost hard to stop you. Like a lot of women I work with will be like, oh, my husband works too much and, he keeps go. And it's like, he's feeling the vibes. Like he's going to want to keep working unless he gets this amazing experience at home where he's like, wow, this felt good. I don't want to work late so much anymore.
Well, I'm going to play like, devil's advocate.
Please do.
So in our culture,
Hmm.
workaholism
Yeah.
is very much held up
Yes.
as the example of a successful person.
Yes.
And as I know, and you probably know, workaholism often covers up certain other feelings or some traumas or
Absolutely.
right.
Hmm.
So I really get what you're saying.
Hmm.
And I wonder how it is possible for a woman to be fully in her power and her influence and her femininity to have a sustained experience with somebody who has the presentation of workaholism.
Mm. That's a really good question. So we're talking in generalities, right?
Yes, of course.
I
Yeah.
will I will put on the borders addiction
Hmm.
and severe mental health conditions.
Yeah.
They need to be bracketed out
Okay.
because they exert such a strong influence over someone that these kind of healthy masculine and feminine dynamics, they can sometimes cause a shift, because the part we haven't gotten to yet is the vulnerable expression. And
Mm.
when a woman is able to say, maybe he's worked till 10, he said he'd be home at 8, whatever, and she cannot say, hey, you said you were going to work till 10, 8 and you aren't home, and she doesn't do that traditional, like, I guess, scolding,
Yeah.
and she says, hey, I'd like to share something. I feel really sad. Like, I feel a pain in my stomach, and I was really excited to see you at 8.
Mm.
And leave it at that and just let the pin drop. Because sometimes, and again, I'm not saying we go out there to fix men, right? This is only for you to deepen your genuine expression in the world, that you're not
Yeah.
covering that up with combativeness. But it can be like, oh, a light bulb goes on. I'm harming my most loved, precious person here.
Mm. Mm.
This actually matters to me.
Right.
And that can be, it still actually surprises me personally how a man can listen to nothing, but if you get this vulnerable expression correct, he will listen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what it does is it taps into his instinct to provide and protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
he hears that he's the one hurting you, I mean, often men will still get defensive, and especially certain temperaments will still struggle with defensiveness,
Right.
but he is pierced. He feels
Mm-hmm.
that. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
the other kinds of complaining or negotiating or why don't you, he just doesn't hear any of it, and he totally shields himself completely.
Yeah.
And so it can be pretty amazing what, even like I said, I won't guarantee it, but I'll see women create things. Like one guy stopped playing video games.
Wow, that's very impressive.
He was like the gaming guy, and he was like 45. I was like, woohoo, good for you. But it was because she started working out and having such a great life that he was like, let's start working out together.
Oh, that's
And bought the
beautiful.
equipment. He was so inspired by her lifestyle choices.
That's beautiful. Congratulations on accomplishing that. It's so important. Oftentimes people get into relationships because they think that other person is going to fix them
Yeah.
or give them themselves in a way that they need what you're talking about giving to themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think that other person, that old movie with Tom Cruise, you had me at hello, you complete me. And we're sold such a dysfunctional model for relationships, like, oh, it's supposed to be hot all the time. Well,
Right.
there can be moments of hotness and there's seasons, right? And then there's the reconnection. And then it's all about, I love what you said, scolding, because so many people, the masculine to the feminine to the masculine, that condemnation, that, oh my God, you
Yes.
keep doing you, like forgetting the I, forgetting that
Right.
that that each of us have a part in what is happening. So
Yeah.
your work is really important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is it like to have two wild boys? I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh, it's exhausting. Um, especially my eldest, is bursting with energy, and they're my teachers because they trigger me so much. I'll just be vulnerable here. Working on my marriage has been once I understood it, it's been so rewarding, and so like seeing the results.
Yeah.
But being a mother has just challenged me so much. They're 4 and 6.
Wow.
And yeah, I when I'm in my higher self, I'm like, there's more work for you, Shiloh. They're
Right.
still bringing it up. And when I'm not, I'm like, this is no fair. Why are they so hard? Other
I
people,
didn't sign up for this.
like, my kids are harder than your kids. I need like a badge of honor.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you're saying, and I really resonated with your statement earlier that when you're doing all the self-attachment, when you're doing the attachment parenting and you're doing the very, the nursing, but I call it by request because it really always bothered me when people say nursing on demand, like
Yeah.
your kid's demanding. It's like, no, they're just trying to get their needs met.
Right.
So, and that's really, the crux of why so many things go awry is that people are wanting to get their needs met, and when they don't, they're operating from this unconscious desire to get their needs met. So it's like there's where the twain meets. And I know because I nursed my daughter till she was 3. We did the family bed, and I was exhausted, and my husband was working all the time. I was in school and attempting to grow my practice. And so
Mhm.
I know how I felt. By the end of the day, I was just exhausted
Yeah.
and desperate for some, me time and, connect time with my husband. So if somebody would have said to me, come alongside of me and said, how can I support you?
Mm.
Which is really what so much of the theme of this event is, the awakened heart of the mother.
Yes.
How do we nurture the heart of the mother, and permission to give yourself permission to embody your influence and create a powerful legacy of health, of love,
Yes.
compassion. So
Yes.
I know you have a very special gift
Yes.
for all of the attendees at this event. Would you like to share about that?
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you. So, I have a program called the Happily Married Woman, where I have distilled all the things I teach my one on one clients. So, you can have a self paced program to learn everything you truly need to create the deep emotional connection, the sexual chemistry, and the enduring peace and harmony. And this is not a superficial program of tactics, because you actually can't create emotional connection with tactics. It's one thing that I've learned on this journey is there's a lot of advice out there that will please your husband or make him manipulate his behavior a little differently. But if you haven't fed yourself in the process, you'll resent being the puppet master.
Hmm.
So this whole first module starts with the deep inner work and inner child work. Then you learn about the masculine and how most men truly think very differently than most women. And when we judge them on our standards, they run up as really bad women, like just really jerks. um, and then I teach about vulnerable communication. And again, this goes beyond just getting your point across clearly. This is opening yourself up to someone in really a scary way. Because if it wasn't scary, you would have already done it. This is for the adventurers who are like, all right, I want that extraordinary marriage, so I'm going to take extraordinary steps. And then the final module is be his lover, not his mother. So this is part of the polarity dynamic,
Ooh, I love that.
where we are unconsciously mothering our men at an epidemic level and then blaming them for being children. Whenever a woman says to me, oh, he's like my last child, I just like cringe. I'm like, oh no, don't say that out loud. Because when we caretake them, when we anticipate their needs, when we do everything for them that we don't want to actually do for them, we resent them and they feel mothered. So it's a lose-lose. Nobody is actually winning in that mothering dynamic. And so I'll really help reveal to you the ways in which you might be trying to get your needs met by overly caretaking. And the good news is that the less you do, the better. Backing off a lot of acts of service is almost the right answer for every single woman I talk to. Because we can't really experience that lover energy with a man when we're also overly caretaking him.
That's profound. That is so, everybody who is listening to this, write that down. If you are in a relationship, write that down and place it where you can see it. Will you repeat that again about
the mother and the lover? Okay, I'll try to. So when you are caretaking your husband and doing things for him, certain acts of service that you don't want to do, you cannot feel like his lover. You
Right.
cannot experience sexual chemistry and passion on a level that is possible. And at the same way, it blocks his ability to see you as his beautiful, gorgeous lover because he experiences you as a mom.
Love that. That is like, that is so base level.
Yeah.
Because women are taught to be pleasing.
Yes.
To garner approval. And so many women think, okay, so if I do all these things, if I'm great in bed and I do all these things for them, then I will receive the nurturing, the love, the attention, the care.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's one of my big things is there's no medals for martyrship. You can be the perfect woman and you will be more taken for granted than ever.
And
yeah.
I love that, because I remember there was a period of time where women were having this dialogue, and it went something like this. I don't know. I just think I have a bad picker, or, it just seems like the women who are bitchy are the ones who get the great men.
Yeah, exactly. And so I see these women come by my practice and, on the internet so much, where they'll give their resume of their perfection, and they are perfect. They do the cooking, the cleaning, the loving, the doting, the affirming. Why is it not good enough? They'll say, why am I not enough? Why does he not pursue me? Why does he ignore me? Why is he dismissive and rude to me? And what I said to this particular woman is, I said, when you try to earn love, it conveys low self-worth. And when you have low self-worth, you're unattractive.
Yes. Bam. So for everybody who has been with us, Shiloh has a very special offer. Will you share that?
Yes. So just for the women here who are at this summit, it's coupons for nobody else. I'm going to give you a special coupon towards the Happily Married Women program. You can get 50% off if you sign up before the end of the month. And I want you to know as well that I have a one-on-one coaching practice. And if you take this program and decide you want to upgrade to the one-on-one, you can credit the entire cost of the program towards one-on-one coaching as well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shiloh. That's so generous. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I will make sure everyone, to look inside the email for the ways to connect with Shiloh, and there'll be a link for you that's already on the Awakened Heart of the Mother speaker page. There's a way for you to connect as well. So we'll make sure you have all that information. Thank you, Shiloh, for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience, and your phenomenal work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for journeying with us. As you know, you can have lifetime access to this event for only $27. So all of these speakers have come together to share all of their inspiration, their information, so that you have a transformation. So whether you do or you don't, make yourself available to this offer. I'm so happy that you have been with us. And remember, you are loved beyond measure, powerful beyond description, and a force for good in the world. So go forth and spread your magic. We will see you on the other side. Thank you for being with us.